Hello there. We're in the middle of a global pandemic, and sometimes it feels like there's no sport going on in the world, or certainly very little sport going on in the world. But in the world of winter sport, there's actually a lot going on. And we're exactly 1 year from next year's Winter Olympics in Beijing. At the moment, there are 20 Irish athletes competing for Team Ireland around the world in winter sports. And there actually have been 7,000 international events in winter sports since last September. So winter sport is going and continuing and very competitive at the moment. Ireland has athletes that compete in everything from skeleton to freestyle skiing to snowboarding. And we're delighted today to have two of Team Ireland's athletes who are currently competing on the international stage, cross-country skier Maloney Westgaard and luge athlete Elsa Desmond. Thomas, where exactly are you right now?
Right now I am in Sjursjøen, a tiny little, place in the mountains in Lillehammer, in Norway. So yeah, it's like a skiing Eldorado. So yeah.
And breathless because you've just literally rushed to a straight from training, have you?
Yes, I have. So yeah, but that's I'm glad I reached it.
And Elsa, tell us, where exactly are you right now?
At the moment, I'm in St. Moritz, which is in Switzerland. I'm here for a World Cup race coming this weekend.
Okay, so we'll talk about form first of all. Thomas, you have been in really good form this year. It's like you're really starting to the whole international thing is clicking for you. Tell us how well you've been going.
Yeah, this season has been really good for me. I feel I've progressed a lot, and for the first time, I feel I have stabilized myself. Top 30 in the world, and I got my first top 10 this season. So of course, that's very satisfying for me, and of course, it gives a massive boost for the continuing.
Yeah, you described you were ninth in top, like you said. You described it to some journalists as like San Marino winning the World Cup. Was it that big for you to make a top 10 in the competition?
Yeah, of course, Ireland is a small country in winter sports, and of course we have limited fundings, and things are very limited, but we do the best as we can in the situation that we are, and in that way I felt it was quite a sensation, but of course when I first got that result, I'm aiming for more, and I hope to stabilize myself and to keep going and to keep delivering results. That's for sure the main goal.
And Elsa, you have just competed, I think, in two really what are majors, in the Europeans and in the World Championships. Tell us how you got on in those.
Yeah, so I've just competed in the World Championships last weekend in Koningsee, and I finished in 40th in the main event and 42nd in the sprint event. And a couple of weeks before that, I competed in the European Championships in Sigulda, and I finished 27th.
So how is that for you? Are you progressing? How do you feel about that?
So this season's been a challenging season for me. It's my first season for Ireland. I've also been doing my final exams for my medical school. So for us, this season's been more about building experience, getting more track time, adjusting to the new environment of being with the Irish team. And it's been less about the results. It's been more sort of a building season for the future.
And how does somebody compete on the international World Cups scene and try to study and finish to be a doctor as well? How do you manage all of that? Do you have to bring your books with you?
So balancing my medical school and my luge career has always been about time management. When I'm at home, I will do extra hours in the hospital. I will go in on the weekends, on the evenings, to make up in advance for what I'm going to miss. And then when I'm away, I take my books, I bring my laptop, which has all my notes on it. I can sometimes watch the lectures online, and I sit exams while I'm away as well. I just stick a big do not disturb sign on my door.
Thomas, you probably have to put a do not disturb sign on your door as well at times when you're just trying to get your head down and concentrate and focus. If you had to explain what cross-country skiing is to people, and 15K or 15 and 15, they're your disciplines, if you like, how do you describe cross-country skiing and the challenge of it to people?
It's an endurance sport, and you have to have a high capacity for it. If you have to compare it to something, it would be like running or cycling, like in between, really. I mean, you have to train a lot, and of course, many people will find it exhausting. And of course, we do it ourselves. But I mean, the way of struggling in the tracks and then try to receive a great result, and the feeling after a race is absolutely fantastic when you feel you have given it everything and you have nothing more left. That's quite a great feeling.
Yeah, I always think it must be as close to marathon running and hill running on skis, if you like, as possible. You've grown up in Norway. You have a mum from Dunmore in Galway, and you competed for Ireland at the last Olympics. What did you? I mean, that was a huge moment for you. What did you learn from the Olympics in Pyeongchang?
Yeah, I mean, of course, I mean, every athlete has a dream of competing at the Olympics for the nation, and that was a huge moment. It was a childhood dream when you first entering the opening ceremony. You feel like, wow, this is something you've dreamed about since you were a kid. It might sound like a cliche, but I mean, it was, of course, fantastic. And when you're there, it's like. I mean, you're enjoying the moment, but still you want to perform at your best. So you have to balance it in some way. And that is quite hard for many. And it was, when I look on it afterwards, it was probably quite hard for me as well. It was totally new for me. So that is something I really want to learn in the next Olympics. I've done it before, and it's a huge moment. And of course, it's a huge moment to do it again. But I've been through it, and this time I really want to be on my top level.
And we can see with the progression, then you've gone from somebody who was getting results in the top 40s now up to the 30s and the 20s and the 10s. So do you feel you've really progressed since Pyeongchang in 2018?
Oh yes, absolutely, and of course that gives satisfaction, and of course that helps in the next situation where I'm in the Olympics, because I mean last time it really was about learning. I felt I was still young, and I had so much more potential to. I knew I had a way to go. So, I mean, it's a really good experience to have back in the head that I've been through it. And so I really look forward to the next one.
And Elsa, in contrast to Thomas's sport, yours is so different. I think you go at speeds over 120 kilometers an hour on what looks like a tray, down a track that's a mile long. Tell us about the first time that you did it, and were you not terrified out of your mind, and what took you to the sport?
So the first time I did luge, I was a teenager. I was in Innsbruck, which is in Austria, and I actually started by going as a civilian to a British army camp for sliding sports. I'd been trying to get into the sport for a very long time after seeing it at the Torino Olympics in 2006, and I knew I wanted to do it, and eventually we managed to get me on a sled, and I was so excited to finally be getting on a sled, but I was equally absolutely terrified. I was the only girl. It was in this big group of military guys, and we started the first run. You go from a lower start height. You do not go from ladies start. You go from a few corners up from the finish, and you just sort of get told to relax and see how it goes. And then after that, you can start to build your skills and start to learn to steer the sled and things.
So you don't actually go as fast the first time as you're going now?
Goodness no, your first run you go maybe 50 kilometers an hour, nowhere near the speeds that you get once you go up to your lady start height.
And Thomas, what about it? Would you ever have a go in a luge?
No, and I probably would never either. It's quite impressive that they're dare to do it. find it really impressive.
Isn't that the amazing thing about winter sport, is that it's so varied and that there's a place for everybody in it? You know, you have the adrenaline junkies like Elsa, you have the endurance athletes like you have a whole mixture of people who do different things.
Yeah, I mean, it's so different. And I mean, you have ski jumping as well, which is like a relative to...
It looks terrifying.
They're so different. Yeah, it's so amazing that it's so different, all the sports really. But you get a good mix of everything, and I think people enjoy it when they first watch it every 4 years, and and of course we want to try to promote our sports and do the best we can so that people in Ireland can enjoy it.
You one of the things for Irish Winter Olympians is that very often you collaborate with other countries who help you out because you're seen as one of the smaller nations and people give you a hand. And I think you have a very interesting collaboration. Is it with the Swedes at the moment?
That's right. Yeah, they've been fantastic. So they are waxing my skis, which is quite difficult in itself. It's quite advanced, and they do service for me, like testing skis with me. And if it's a long race, they are in the tracks with a spare pole if I break something, or with drinks if it's a long race. And that way they've been fantastic. And in order they get more vests or more bibs so they can have more people in the tracks helping their athletes. Right. So they get the Irish vests in the collaboration. So I mean, it helps us both.
And Elsa, you have also been collaborating with the Norwegians, or you're actually hoping to go to Norway to live until COVID struck.
Yeah, so I don't actually work with the Norwegians at the moment. That was an aim. I was meant to be moving there, but unfortunately due to COVID, that didn't happen. For small sports and for small nations in this sport, we have what they call as the FIL group, which is provided by the International Federation. And it's a group made up of athletes from the small nations. So like myself, Moldova, Czech, Chinese Taipei, Bulgaria, Bosnia. And we share a group of coaches and we travel together and we live together, and it's a way of allowing the small sports small nations more sort of ability to get into the sport, because we don't have to hire our own technician and our own coach, which is quite expensive to do. Yeah. So we work as a sort of team.
We have some of our skiers are the same. They share a coach with some other countries when they're training and living abroad. So it's a real Olympic idea almost, this thing of collaboration and helping each other out, which I really like. You're unusual as well, Elsa, in that this is your first year competing for Ireland. You've actually helped set up the Luge Federation of Ireland. Just briefly tell us about that.
Yeah, so when I started sliding for Great Britain because Ireland didn't have a federation. I always liked the idea of moving to Ireland, but I knew it would mean setting up the federation. So over the last summer, since leaving GB, we've set that up with support from my family in Ireland and my family in the UK. We've set up the federation and we now run it, and we're looking to build it in the future and recruit and make it more of an established federation.
Brilliant. You might recruit a whole load of new luge athletes from Ireland. And your family connections, explain to us what they are too.
So my dad's side of the family are Irish. My granddad was from Cork. My grandmother was from Cavan. Sorry. My grandmother was from Cavan. My granddad was from Cork. So that's my Irish connection.
Would be amazing if you make an Olympics to have a Cavan shouting for an Irish luge athlete in the Olympics. That would be absolutely extraordinary. They would be so proud of you, because in Galway for Pyeongchang, there was a whole fan club built up for Thomas through his family connections up there. So you'll have really special support there. Finally, before we finish up, tell us, Thomas, where are you now? What's next up for you? And where are you in relation to qualifying for Beijing?
So right now, I'm in Sjusjøen, nearby Lillehammer in Norway, doing my best for the pre-camp before World Championships in Germany, which starts 25th of February and is ending at 7th of March. And that's the main goal of the season, really.
And what do you need to do to qualify for Beijing?
So to qualify for Beijing, I need to sub some, I think it's 90 FIS points, and I have that already. So I think I'm qualified. So I hope just that Team Ireland will pick me up. That's the main thing I have to hope for now.
Great. And what about you, Elsa? What are your prospects for the Olympics? Will Beijing be too early for you? Could you be looking at 2026 in Italy?
So the big target for me is 2026 in Italy. I'm still quite early in my career. I'm still quite young and inexperienced in the sport to a degree. So really the big aim will be 2026. The aim had earlier been 22, but with COVID and not moving to Norway and things, the target has changed. I am still trying for Beijing in 2022. The way our qualification works is it's normally over the pre-Olympic and Olympic season, but due to COVID, it's now just all on next season. There will be 5 races, and it will be your ranking from the total of those 5 races. We're expecting there to be quite a lot of girls on the World Cup circuit next year, and 35 will make the Olympics. So it's just going to be on my results, and in this sport, anything can happen on the day.
Well, by the time you compete in the Olympics, whether it's Beijing or Italy in 2026, you will be a doctor, which would be fantastic. And to do that while you're competing is pretty amazing as well. As we said, it is 1 year to go to the Winter Olympics in Beijing in 2022. We wish you all the best of luck in the next few months, especially Thomas at World Championships. Best of luck and keep flying the flag for Team Ireland out there.
Thank you very much.